So I don't know where I'll start, I guess, at the beginning. I had a situation where I had a cyst on my ovary, which then that built back over, I would say about 15, 20 years, because I remember the pain very young, around 15 years old, of like a cyst popping. It'd be like a cramp, paralyze me kind of from my hips down a little bit after intercourse. And then I'd kind of come good again, anywhere from 5 minutes to 15 minutes. And that wouldn't happen every time. That would only happen once a year, maybe, once every 2 years, here and there throughout my whole adult life. This went on for, as I said, about 20 to 25 years until this same cyst built back to a main artery internally, which then popped my main artery. I then lost 3.5 litres of my whole 5 litres of blood internally. So in this time, I was rolling around on my bedroom floor thinking, oh, it's just wind or something, like surely, just trying to fight through as usual, like this will go away soon. The paralyzed feeling was, of course, there. I remember losing my breath a lot, like feeling really short breath, in and out of consciousness. Just still fighting. I think I probably fought on my bedroom floor, rolling around for about 5 to 6 hours until my partner finally called an ambulance, with me surrendering to that. The ambulance got here and I just said, I'm sure it's wind, like maybe I could have some degas or something. And he's like, no, you're coming with me. I've seen something like this before. One other lady, I think he said about 7 years prior to me, she had a problem, and it seemed kind of extreme and a worry. I remember bending over and walking out to the ambulance vehicle, like not needing the stretcher bed or anything, just being tough girl that I am, like I'm fine. I remember being in the ambulance and just really self-protecting, hunching over. The pain was so low, like the lowest part of your body that blood's going to drop to is basically your pelvis and that low center spot. So that was like a paralyzing pain. I could not move at all, except for like shaking my legs, and like that was just like from like the fear or anxiety or something. I'm not too sure. I remember getting to the hospital, them handing over to nurses what he thought it was, the ambulance officer, then going into a waiting room. That waiting room, I remember being in there for another 6 hours in a lot of pain, a lot of fear. I remember saying to my family members on the phone, like, I just don't have the energy to talk right now. I'm going to be fine, but I can't talk. I'm not good. And I wasn't on any medication at this time either. Then at some point I remember them wheeling in like a ultrasound machine. It was like a little portable ultrasound machine. They put it on me and had a look, and the guy, I remember him saying, send her to effing resus now. Then I remember being over in resus. At that point, I remember being just kind of stripped of all my dignity, I guess you could say, in the kindest way, like, and in the best way, because absolutely everyone doing the job they've done a fantastic job, and I'm so thankful to be here today. But you're stripped down of all your clothes, so it's very scary, intimidating, a catheter, all those things. Needles, machines. I remember being administered some type of drug. From there, I then remember waking up in my gown for surgery. I remember them briefing me on what was happening. They were hoping they were going to save my right ovary. I had quite a good understanding of what was happening somehow in that short debrief. I then went into surgery. I came out fine, ovary fine, everything fine, not a problem. I woke up from my surgery and my mum, my brother, and my partner were there. Oh, sorry. And as soon as I seen them, I said, I seen you guys. I seen you, I went past on the bed, I was on the bed on my way into going into the theatre, into surgery, and you were sitting there so perfectly, so beautiful, the most beautiful I'd ever seen him in my entire life. It was my mum, my brother, and Julian was sitting kind of up behind him in the waiting room is kind of how I seen it. There was no way possible. I was in a totally different part of the hospital. I could not have been wheeled past there. They were all blowing out at me like, no, you didn't. What are you talking about? That's weird. Because I was also talking other weird things. Like, I was saying the gynecologist lady had told me she was a man, and she was actually really a man. Everyone's like, no, she's not, Sharon, don't say that. But I remember that so clearly. So that's another thing that's like, is this a dream that I dreamt, that I seen him sitting there so perfectly? But how do I know exactly where it was and how they looked and the seating of it and the positioning and the colours of the chairs and the windows behind him, beside him, where I wheeled past? That was just so odd. I think I got out of there pretty quickly, out of hospital. I was probably there like a night or two after. I'm a pretty tough girl, so I just kind of pushed through and done anything I had to do to get better quickly and get home. I was told I was very lucky to be alive. I was given 1 blood transfusion. I don't know, I think before surgery. I didn't sign for that. It's something that you should sign for, but they took it in their hands knowing that I needed it or I was going to pass. Then I got out of surgery and was given another, I believe it was a litre of blood, and signed for that one and signed for the previous one that they'd given me with no permission as well, and was just so thankful that I was given that. One of the nights sleeping there, I was highly drugged up after my surgery. I don't know what on. I was drugged up, so I don't remember. But I remember looking out the window during the night at some point, and hunched over was a little man. And my only way to describe it, because of my past and what I've seen or whatever, and posters, pictures, would be like the Grim Reaper, but it wasn't him. It was just like a dark cape, a little guy, and he was just standing out on like the roof. And it wasn't a really scary, fearful feeling, but it was a dark, strange feeling, but also calm. It's really hard to describe. And I just dozed off and went back to sleep again. Just those couple of experiences but make me wonder, like, where do we go when we die? And when we do have like something that's so near death, we really pray in that moment. Like, I remember him briefing me. I don't know how they brought me back from being so out of it to into it and understanding, and then so out of it again for surgery. I do remember the surgery at the moment. I remember them administering me with the medication. I remember being so polite and saying thank you, Ahmed, and thank you, the other gentleman's name I don't remember. Just surrendering and hoping that they'll treat me well. Afterwards was another new experience as well, just surrendering to all that. And in that moment, as I was saying prior to remembering the surgery, is in that moment I was being depraved. There was so much going through my mind, like so much, like, what about my family? What about, what about everything, everyone? What are they going to do? Like, how am I going to protect them? And then you start saying, I'm going to be a better person. I'm going to do anything possible to be here. I promise. You pray to God. Is there a God? I will believe in God. If I can survive this. I mean, the thoughts that went through my head, I'll be a better person. I'll eat healthier. I'll follow up. I won't ignore any pains or illnesses. 5 years on, I still ignore things. I still should be getting my butt to doctors for little things, that feel like big things at times because of that medical emergency. Like, one little medical emergency can really give you a bit of trauma that you don't expect. I remember going back to the doctor saying, I think it was about 3 months after my surgery, and the doctors in the hospital, there was no my doctors didn't know what had happened, but these had been my doctors for 10 to 15 years. So there's nothing there in between the two without taking in my paperwork saying this is what happened to me. I remember going back to my doctors about 3 or 4 times in that period from 3 to 6 months after the surgery, saying I'm getting this feeling just up over me. It's so overwhelming. I feel like I'm going to die. And that's such an extreme word to say, but that's what I felt before. I felt like I was going to die. The last doctor I went to about it was so angry at me. And he was just saying, this is anxiety, this is depression. What are you doing? What are you doing to your family? Just so angry at me. And I had no understanding of what was going on with my hormones, with my feelings, what is even going on. I even had a friend visit and my partner smiled at her, and I seen that as so, I was being betrayed, I was going to lose my partner, I was so insecure and just weird about it. And I brought that up with my friend and partner the next day, I'm so silly for even thinking that. Why did I think that? That's dumb. I guess hormones and things can do things. I don't know. It was my ovaries. So I don't know. Turns out this overwhelming feeling I was getting very often, every single day, to the point of giving myself depression, saying, I don't know how to cope. I don't know what to do. My partner laying down on the floor with me with a mattress for 3 days in a row, just watching cartoons, cuddling me, just trying to make me feel better or get some type of happiness. He would have done anything, and he did do everything. He's so amazing. And same as my brother and all sorts of other people along the way. But yeah, it turned out that the overwhelming feeling was iron. My iron was down at 15%, I think. Don't quote me on this, but I think it's meant to sit around 35 to, let's say, 50. It was very low, way lower than it should have been. So I started taking liquid iron in my daily diet, started putting more iron in my daily intake like I already was with food, trying to do my best there. It wasn't working. I was still getting this overwhelming feeling. So I think a year on, I went back to the doctors and they gave me an iron infusion, which is kind of it's like a drip. So it's a drip with iron. It's got to go in slowly. I had to stay in for about an hour for him to do it. And it's a really scary big thing, and there's all kinds of implications that can happen with it. So it's just another more panic, more worry. But I got through it okay. And I felt so good. I could see again properly. I thought I needed glasses, but I didn't. It was just my iron low. So now I know when my iron's low, I know when I'm low in iron because I can't read little things properly. The iron infusion was so scary that I don't want to do that on a yearly basis. So I went on a vitamin C plus iron supplement that I try and remember as often as I can, but I do fail and fall back down that overwhelming feeling again, and then not being able to read properly, and I take some more iron and I'm all good. As I said, I think it's been 4 years now, and my moods, my periods, everything's kind of going back to normal again. When I ovulate, I believe there's some type of pain there that shouldn't be there, whether it's some type of cysts again, which, there's not enough research put into them or understanding of how we can even prevent them, which is a little bit scary. But I have changed up diet a little bit. Anything that kind of looks like it, eat it. Berries, I don't know. Lots of different fruits and berries and healthy stuff. And maybe regular ultrasounds too is something I should be doing, because I did promise myself I would follow up just to be able to live. And I'm still living. And if I can't keep a promise to myself, who can I keep a promise to? But it's just kind of awareness to, please, those pains, hey, if they get more serious or paralyzing in that way where you can't move from one spot, that is not okay. It's really not okay. And I know you might get turned away from hospitals or doctors, be a thorn in the side. Keep pushing, keep being polite, keep being gentle, but don't ignore it, because a medical emergency can really add a whole lot more than you needed to add to it.